welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to look at the third point of the uh, mentioned points, right? So in the previous two lectures, we have seen like how we can understand a problem, how we can restate in our own words, and then we have seen like how we can write some concrete examples into it, right? So now, okay, so it's not the one, like this is the one, sorry. So how we can understand a problem and then how we can relate it with some concrete examples. So now in this lecture, we will be seeing like how we can break it down into sub problems. Okay, so break it down doesn't mean like we are going to stand and do some break dancing in front of interviewer, right? So obviously we are not gonna do that, and that's not what he will expect us to do, right? So what we will do, we will basically write some sort of comments of the steps, like what we are going to do to solve this particular problem. Okay, so it will help the interviewer also to understand like what this guy is going to do, because it's not the good way of like when you get a problem and you start angrily writing the solution of that problem without even saying a single word. Like a psychopath, you are solving that problem and your interviewer is also getting no idea like what is going on. Then that creates a bad impression most of the time, right? So if you are like vocal about your code, what you are going, if he's aware of the procedure what you are going to take, then it will help you a lot in the interview. Okay, so let me tell you the benefits first, like what happens when you write some pseudocode. Okay, or you write some steps down. So first thing, your interviewer gets the idea like what this guy is, which approach this guy is going to take to solve this problem. Okay, so most of the time like the interviewers themselves give some sort of hint like, are you sure it is going to work, or are you sure this way you can achieve the solution? Okay, so this way they throw some hints most of the time, right? So the other thing is, in case if you are unable to solve the problem within the time constraint, like there must be some time constraint, right? So if you have the procedure written in your VS Code or like in your code editor, then they will understand like, I know maybe this guy is not able to solve this problem, but he have the complete procedure what he was about to do. Because of the shortage of time, he was unable to make it, but for sure he can solve this problem. Okay, so this creates a good impression in front of interviewer. Okay, whenever you are solving a problem. Okay, so now let's understand about this problem, like this point in detail a little bit. Okay, let me go down quickly. Okay, so here's the one. I hope you guys can see it clearly. So what you need to do is, whenever you are getting a problem, you have to write some steps to solve that problem. Okay, so that will help you to think about like what you are going to write in the code. Okay, that will become a guidance for you. Okay, so in case sometimes what happens, like whenever you start solving a problem, then in middle of the solution you lost like what I have to do next. Okay, so when you write down everything, every step what you need to take, then it will act as a guider for you to solve the problem. Okay, and most of the time like it helps you catch some lingering issues or like some misunderstanding before even diving into the solution of the problem. Okay, so it helps a lot. Okay, so now let's talk about like this problem statement from the previous video. Okay, so we have a function, let's say write a function which takes the string and returns the count of each character in the string. Okay, so this one is pretty small problem. So I've done all these steps, like I've I've written some concrete examples of this problem from previous videos. So let's think like I've done all the last two steps which I have explained in the last two videos. Okay, so this is the concrete examples of this function, what it's going to return. So let's say me and my interviewer agreed upon like we will be considering only the characters and numerics. Okay, so alphanumeric characters only. Okay, and even if we have any uppercase or lowercase character, we'll convert it into the lowercase, and then we will just worry about the characters and the numerics. We will not worry about these special characters or empty spaces at all. Okay, so in case if we get it, then we have to simply ignore it. Okay, so this is how it will look like if we have 2h, even if one is uppercase, one is lowercase, then we will consider them as 2h. Okay, so like so. So now let me quickly take this function. Okay, So here I'm writing a function. Okay, so obviously it's not going to be a pseudocode, it's some sort of comment. Okay, so let's say I'm writing a text. Okay, so it is nothing but a string. Okay, so what I will do, I'll write some basic steps. So as you see here, what we have, we are going to return an object, right? So which will contain the alphanumeric characters and their count. So first thing I'll write is like create an empty object which will store the numeric chars, okay, to return at the end. Okay, so with this first step here, what we will do, we'll simply create an object which we are later going to use to store the text. Okay, and then now the second step will be um like looping through the array, right? Looping through the text string. So loop through the string or text from input. Okay, now the third step will be return the object filled data at the end. So I have just wrote the basic steps. Okay, I haven't wrote any pseudocode, I haven't wrote the complete exact description of the problem. Okay, I've just wrote some pseudocode, some basic text to understand what I'm going to do. Okay, so now let's see, like here we are going to create an empty object which we are going to use to store the text after looping it through, right? And then the second step is obviously we are going to loop through this string, right? Then only we can identify like what we have to store and what we don't have to store. Okay, and then we have to return the object filled with that data at the end. Okay, now the second step is a little bulky, right? Because most of the operations will go inside this step only. Okay, so let me write it down here. Okay, so for that I need multi-line comments quickly. Okay, so here what will be the steps? Like we will see, like if the while looping, let's write while looping text, if the char is not there in object, then add it with value equals to 1. Okay, so something like this. If there is no character in the object, then we are going to add that as a key. Okay, and then its value will be 1 as a key. Let's mention clearly. Okay, now the second step will be, let's copy this. While looping text, if the char is there, okay, is already there in the object, then add 1 to or just increment its value, then its value by 1. Okay, so it will be something like this. Let's say we already have one edge. Okay, in our object there is already one edge, so we are going to increment its value by 1. Okay, now one more thing which we have to consider here is we are just going to work with the alphanumeric characters, right? So while looping, what we have to do, while looping, we have to check for the alpha numeric character. Okay, let's write it like this. So let's mention this here as well. While looping the text, while looping the alphanumeric text, if the char is, or let's move it here, if the char is alphanumeric and okay, not there in the object, then we are going to add it as a value. Okay, now in this step as well, if the char is alphanumeric and already there in the object, so we are going to increment its value by 1. So as you can see, by writing this, it will guide me while writing the solution, while writing the actual solution, right? So we can solve these steps, this step, and then we can solve this step. We'll simply write a for loop, and then inside that for loop, what exactly I have to do, I'll be short like what I am going to do to solve that problem. Okay, so this helps a lot in the interview settings. Okay, so that is why, like, you have heard from most of the people saying like you should not sit silently and like solve your problem in front of interviewer, right? So interviewer doesn't like it. Even if you are sitting in front of someone and you are doing your own stuff, you're not talking to them, they won't feel comfortable, right? So that is exact same thing that happens in the interviews as well. Okay, so you have to be vocal, you have to be communicative, right? So while writing the solution, you have to communicate properly with the interviewer, like these are the some sort of steps which I'm going to solve, use to solve this problem. Okay, and then first I'll write this, I'll create an object, and then I'll loop through the array, and then I'll do the stuff with that string, I'll store it in the object, and now I'm going to return an object which will contain the respective data. Okay, so this way, while writing the solution itself, you can be communicative. Okay, because you have the steps written in it. Obviously it is not some sort of pseudocode, it's just some text, okay, which will help you what you have to do next in the problem statement whenever you are in middle of it. And it will help your interviewer also to understand like what this guy is actually doing. Okay, what will happen at the end, like in case if you fail to solve this problem, like in case if you fail to return the answer at the end, then also most of the times like interviewers consider it as like the qualified one, because most of the times what happens, like not most of the time, sometimes what happens, they give you a tricky time consuming question. Okay, they don't want you to solve it in particular time. What they want is they want to see the steps what you are going to take to solve that problem. Okay, that is what that matters most like sometimes. Okay, so this can be a lifesaver when you start writing some sort of comments in the code. Okay, so yeah, in the next lecture we'll start breaking it down into the sub problems. I think we have already came halfway through, we have broken it down into this like sub problems, we have already wrote some text, we have to just solve it in the next lecture, right? So yeah, this is it for this lecture, guys. See you in the next one. And if you want, like I think I have not mentioned like these things, these steps in the description. Let me go to the right place to find it. Okay, so even if I have not mentioned these steps, I don't think like this is a lot, right? You can take a screenshot of it if you want. Okay, and then what you can do, you can take a screenshot of this as well. Let me quickly zoom out it. Okay, so if you want, you can take a screenshot of this as well. Okay, so this way it will like help you to understand how you can solve a problem step by step. Okay, so now in the next lecture, let's quickly create these like break it down to the sub problems, and then let's solve it. Let's start solving the problems. Okay, so this is it for this lecture, guys. See you in the next one.